Growing up, my father and I have a long distance relationship, except we live locally to each other in Toronto. My dad, he's not a terrible father, he's just not a present father, but he is very good at making babies, so he is indeed a father over and over and over again. So he has 5 kids, and I am his 4th. He has a whole trickle-down parenting system. So when I'm born, my oldest sister, Erin, is 11 years old, and she is the glue that holds together my relationship with my father. If I ever need anything, I call my dad. It's the 1900s. And I say, Dad, I need a pair of shoes. And then my dad would say, yes, okay, I can help you with that purchase, but now call Erin. And Erin would have to go from Thornhill to Finch to Kiel to get me the money. And she would take me to the mall, and she would take me to the movies, and she introduced me to all of her boyfriends, and they all made me feel so cool. And she would come and she would do my hair, and that was really special because we didn't have the same moms, but we both had white moms, and navigating the world of black hair with white mother. And as she did my hair, and as Erin did my hair, she would share with me her dream of taking me to Jamaica and introducing me to the family. And then this is where the trickle-down parenting system failed me because Erin got to go to Jamaica for free with my father, and I was going to pay for that trip in my adult years. So when I'm 14, I moved to Montreal, and we actually all become long distance. And I am not adjusting well, and I call Erin and I say, it's terrible here, and the girls are really mean. And she says, get on a train and we'll spend the weekend together. And she drops everything. And she spends the weekend reassuring me that being a teenager is awful and that I will make it through. And she's not wrong, I do make it. And when I'm 18, she calls me and she says, I'm gonna marry this one, and that makes me happy because I like him. And she says, I'm pregnant, and that makes me even more excited because I love babies. And she asked me to be the bridesmaid, and I say yes, and the dresses are brown. And I'm still so excited. And a couple months after her wedding, she gives birth, and she's a natural mother, and it's so inspiring. And 9 months after she gives birth, she calls me, and she says, I have some news, and I'm hoping it's another baby. And she says, I have cancer, but I'm gonna be okay. And my grandmother had just died of cancer, but she was old, and so that's what old people do. And Erin's young, and she said she's gonna be okay, and she's never lied to me before, so it's gonna be okay. And 18 months later, she calls me and she says that she's in remission. I am so happy and I'm so excited. I say I'm gonna come down and we're gonna celebrate. I'll come for your birthday next month, mid-December. And a couple weeks later, I realized that that's terrible planning because I'm a student and it is mid-exam period, and I can't actually make the trip. So I call her and I say, I think I just have to prioritize my studying. What's a couple weeks? I'll come up for the New Year's. She says, yeah. And then 3 weeks after that, Erin called me and she says, I'm in the back of a taxi and my back hurts and I'm scared. And me, being a great younger sister, said to her, you've already made it to remission, you're gonna be fine. And then 48 hours later, my phone rings and it's my brother. And he says, I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, but Erin died in the night. And hearing these words is like being doused in gasoline and lit on fire. So I do what you do when you're on fire. And I get naked and I stop, drop, and roll. But this doesn't stop any of the pain. And this is the beginning of a long tango that I do with grief. And I wish I could say that Erin's passing brought my father and I together, but she was the glue. 15 years after Erin passes away, my dad calls me one evening and he says, "I've been very mad at my children." I said, "Okay." He said, "Nobody comes to visit me, but I realize that nobody comes to visit me because I didn't come to visit you." So now it's 2022, and I am recovering from the pandemic. And my friend calls me and she says, "Hey, I'm going to Toronto for the weekend, a real quick trip, just gonna go get laid. But I don't want to drive alone. And I know you know a lot of people in Toronto, so do you want to drive with me? You can pay no gas and you can just be the passenger, and I'll drop you off at a subway station." And I think, yes, I could use free and I could use some fun. So I ask her what subway station she can drop me off at, and she says Finch. Fuck. I was going away for fun. I had no intention on visiting my father on this very quick visit. But I get overcome with, what would Erin do? And she would go see our dad. So I reluctantly did the right thing, and I called my father and I said, "Hey, Dad, I'll be passing through Toronto very quickly. I can stop in for an hour or two." And he said, "I would love that. My apartment's a mess." And I said, "Don't worry about that, Dad. I'm coming to see you, not your mess. Don't worry about it." 24 hours later, I am at his door, and there was nothing that could prepare me for how frail he looked. And calling it a mess was an understatement. The thick dust, the air was musty, the walls were bleeding nicotine, every dish was dirty. And during this visit, I realized that he cannot be living alone anymore. And it reopens the wound of, where is Erin? And I don't want to be dealing with this. But again, I do the right thing. And when I get back to Montreal, I call my brothers and I say, "Dad can't be living alone." And we work as a team, and we get a cleaning person into his house while we're trying to look for some assisted living options. And 3 days after we have his apartment cleaned, my brother calls to say that my dad has fallen and he went to the hospital. And my dad never returned home. He died in clean sheets with my brother by his side, just the way Erin would have wanted. And I will always believe that Erin arranged that free lift for my last visit. Thank you.